All right. To sum up, I believe Charlotte was staring upward at the supercell of spirits. Alicia was eliminating various devices, booby traps, sensors, and getting angrier and angrier about it. Not least, I mean, partly because it had sort of been like, had this dropped in her lap while everybody else was sort of dealing with this other thing, but also not least because as she's eliminating this stuff and identifying what she, clearly, sees as, some of uh, older, well, not, I guess, still new to you, but certainly somewhat aged and weathered Quiltech, also clearly integrated stuff from your dad in this mess that he's used as booby traps and stuff like that. So that's
Damn it,
happening.
Jason. Um,
So that's happening. Charlotte's
can, can,
happening. And
can
yes,
I have a sudden, wildly paranoid thought?
sure.
Is there anything? Is there any way that I can tell, like through a assess the situation roll or something
Yes.
equivalent like that, like how old the chin tech is that's incorporated here?
Ooh. Yeah, for sure. Why don't you give me a
Not
superior roll?
well, of course. They're all superior rules, are they not?
A roll of superior. You have this long suffering, like, oh God, I have to trust in the dice. That's never gone well for me. A full hit. All right, look at that. It's like the dice actually didn't betray him. Now I realize now. So just think of the end goal here. I will answer in context of the chin tech and the quill tech and all that other kind of stuff. But um, give me a general direction of like where you're going with this in terms of like the question that you want answered out of assess situation, which you have two, right? Two, yes.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I underlying what I want to find out here is, does this technology indicate a recent or ongoing collaboration or further developments from my father? Um,
Mm.
More recent than, oh, this is Jason pulling old robot spies from the warehouse and incorporating the technology into his stuff, X decades ago, versus, oh, dad is somewhere sitting in a cell or a conference room collaborating with the Jason Quill of this world, or dad's AI, or something equally zany. Um, I don't as much mind if he's using Chintech because, of course, he's going to draw on those resources. If it's more recent stuff, that's definitely worrisome.
Yes.
So, I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
kind of pondering how to incorporate that um into the bulleted
What here is the
questions.
greatest danger?
Um, sure,
Not
that's
in greatest
probably.
danger, but where's the threat? Because that would indicate then where's it coming from? Like
What
the
here is the yeah? What here is the biggest threat, especially from a very personal standpoint?
yeah, no, that's entirely fair, and I think completely good angle on that. Okay, so what
Not that I'm
you
at all paranoid about running into my dad anytime in this particular scenario, but I'm really paranoid about running into my dad, even if in this world we're miles south.
right,
Given that we have divergent histories here,
right, yeah. Okay, so what? So as I said, what you're seeing there is like sort of chin tech, quill tech, rook tech, uh, kind of amalgam. Although the quill rook stuff side of things is not so much merged together as much as it is uh uh it came out of the kiln that way. Like so that's really those are two those are two technological arms that have really kind of evolved together to be functionally one thing, although you can still you can still see the DNA, you can still see both parents
Is
in the child.
is the Rossum tech in the mix?
Hmm, no,
Okay.
not for this. I don't think the Rossum stuff's necessarily this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, yeah, it could certainly have been, and there's certainly instances where that's happening. This is not one of those. The quill stuff you would if you had to guess, it's been laid in here for years. Basic weathering probably I want to ballpark it and say 10 years ago. So it's actually probably roughly call it within a year to 18 months post Vyortovian bomb thing, if you recall that. You know what I mean? The one in the cemetery that set this whole thing off. And not long thereafter, Vyortovia sort of vacated the immediate area. Um, and you would guess not that far back, but certainly, the stuff's been, as near as you can tell, the indicator would seem to be that he laid in a bunch of stuff in here and uh, really hasn't been back since. It's been sort of like these dump systems for sensors, warnings, uh, fatal booby traps, defense systems, that sort of thing, just to keep people from futzing about in this area. And it's laced through all the big approaches to sort of the equivalent of the cemetery over on this side. Like it's miles round. If Alicia would have ever read it, it's like uh, Pan Am on a smaller scale from like the third Mockingjay books.
Right.
Um,
So I mean, it's a defense in depth.
yes.
Um,
Now, what's interesting is
I have a follow up question I'm thinking of, but let's go ahead
okay.
and finish this.
So what's interesting is the chin tech was not in there as an integrated system. It's been added after the fact, and you would guess as little as maybe 5 years ago. It's newer. It's not as weathered. And what's even more interesting is you start to look at like one of the little captured bits. Um, and
Tell me that goes back to broadcasting devices that are pointed in very different directions than the ones that the other stuff is pointed.
well, the broadcasting stuff
I
on Quill stuff is just you need to actually like let the let your Spark brain take over to figure that crap out because some of those warnings are going back across dimensions. So
exactly.
what the hell's going on there? You just don't have time to think about it right now. Um, the chin stuff is not warning devices. It's increased lethality, um, weird like you know antimatter grenades type of tech, crazy stuff. And the melding point between these two, the technological additions that have been made in here, are a third type of tech that you haven't really seen before at all, thematically, design-wise. The two things you notice about that is it's visually distinctive. In the smaller pieces, it's really quite subtle. It's easy to miss. There's a couple of larger things where it's like this street, the entire building, basically all the mortar bonding agents in the side of this building would just kind of disappear, and the whole building would just sort of pour down on top of anybody nearby. Those are larger devices on the inside, kind of mounted on the wall, and in those cases, the scale of it means that the technology bonding these two together is more noticeable. Sort of a
Uh-huh.
silvery, more of a silvery tech. It's more advanced than either technologies, and is entirely, I'm going to say, passive. Where the other two are doing something, its only purpose is to make them play nicely, as near as you can tell without fiddling with it too much. But the tech is more advanced by, you hesitate to say an order of magnitude, but you may not be wrong, and you're not entirely sure that you're not hedging your bets and playing it conservative with that estimate. It's just way further along than.
Any sense as to whether it's terrestrial?
If you had folding money to bet, probably not. I mean, you've seen the Virtovian stuff at least. I mean, you've been riding the Virtovian stuff.
Right. That was kind of what I was wondering.
Yeah, this ain't that. It's I mean, we're in comic books, right? So we kind of visually brand this stuff. So Virtovian stuff is always kind of black and bronze, colored, not actual bronze. You know, that sort of, more swoopier. This stuff is more like, the silver, white, and teal kind of color tones on the page. More, I can't think of a good person that would, kind of look like, the kind of color tones you use on oh God, the metal dude from the X-Men.
Colossus.
Colossus, thank you. Right out of my head. Couldn't think of anything but Cyclops. I've had that problem in the past, though. Anyway, but yeah, silver, white, blue kind of tones. Very, very few blinking lights, things like that.
Any resemblance to concordance tech that I've seen related to Adam?
You've never seen concordance tech as such. It's something. It's energy signatures as much as anything else. You honestly don't know if there is tech so much as like some sort of weird energy level symbiote, or parasite, depending on how cynical you're feeling that day. So no. And so somebody made these things more lethal with the use of Chintech, but also accomplished it by a third application of technology that is neither fish nor fowl. And if you had to bet, not from around here, which begs the question why. And it's like brutal stuff. I mean, it's quite brutal. What you had, any further you want to delve down? So the greatest danger here is that it would appear that this stuff has been grafted to Chintech since it was in place by somebody. So people are still futzing with this thing. And given the age of the stuff and your dad's, at least in your timeline you're familiar with, presence, that would indicate that they did it from this side within the last 5 years. But the greatest thing seems to be that whatever tech they're using is, there's another player involved in this mess, and they're not friendly, and they're sufficiently advanced to be.
Did you say though that
terrifying.
Are these particular traps focused the same way? I mean, or is it sort of more indiscriminate that people coming from either direction would get blown up?
Yeah, anybody fiddling around anywhere near the wound is going to have a bad day. And you know what?
Necessarily put there by the.
I would say this also. Actually, let me take this just a step further. As you start to see how these things are like sort of glommed together, you've been reading them all as like warnings and booby traps and that sort of thing. That's not right. The Quill stuff, the Quill Rook stuff was warnings, non-lethal deterrence, a lot of communication and networking and sensors and stuff like that. The add-ons are what makes it a hornet's nest of destruction, mayhem, and dismay. So somebody turned this thing into a Hunger Games shit show from one end of the area to the other after the fact. And you almost halfway think it wasn't Jason, which isn't necessarily saying that you'd be like, oh no, not that. But either it's not Jason or it's Jason and he has a very scary helper, which
Yeah, it's a radically different purpose and kind of emotional cognitive approach to what was being done.
yeah.
If it was Jason, he would have if nothing else, he would have replaced.
Yeah. And also the other thing is that the chin tech that's being added on there is new. This isn't stuff he drudged out of a warehouse from 15, 20 years ago. This is new stuff. But nothing newer than 5 years ago. So yeah. But yeah, it's not like he repurposed stuff out of the warehouse or something like that. This is it's newer. It's been built more recently than that. You had a follow up.
Well, actually, it was kind of the question that
I mean, it could be Sable Star. That's an idea that theoretically occurs to you. You have no idea though. I mean, who the hell
yeah,
knows?
I kind of chalk up from what I've been able to tell and read about her. I kind of chalk that up to concordance style stuff.
Yeah.
That may be erroneous on my part.
Well, it's
Be Shadow Lisa.
ooh.
Yeah, but only if she's come up with something very new, which of course she could.
Sepia Lisa.
Sepia Lisa?
Sepia Lisa?
No, well, not necessarily Sepia Alicia. Alt future Alicia.
Alt Sepia Alicia.
Oh yeah, alt
future Alicia.
alt future Alicia.
Whatever that. Assuming if I was smart enough to get over to the Sepia verse,
yeah. But that doesn't
this Alicia would have been.
that doesn't answer the question where the hell the other tech came from.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've got multi-dimensional stuff. Yeah. My other question was actually, Margie actually kind of asked it in terms of like, was this designed to kind of protect in the same way as the Quill Rook tech stuff, or protect in both directions, or protect against incursions from the rift, as opposed to people approaching the rift from the outside?
Or is it a just destroy anything that comes along? Who cares?
It wasn't particularly discriminatory. It's the original design stuff is tell us that there's something going on and we will decide what to do.
Right.
This new stuff is anybody so much as twitches in the general direction of this thing, they're going to pull back a stump. And I don't give a shit who it is. Kind of thing.
Does it have any sort of, as far as I can tell, notification or communication component to it?
The answer to that question seems to be yes, when this thing shows up.
Shows up like comes hovering over the landscape over in my direction?
Shows up like shimmers into perceptible space. And you only barely get behind or under or around something before it's scanning like the wall unit that you were looking at that you had been kind of examining and whatnot.
I hide behind Gazer Beam's skeleton.
It's it's kind of, I mean, it's sort of hovering and the limbs are sort of twitching slightly and seem quite articulated, more so than this thing probably looks like it is, but rotating and clicking and clacking and all that kind of stuff. And so yes, apparently there was some sort of alert thing in there, but you didn't end up necessarily in any kind of real danger because you had warning. You were going to say something.
You said it shimmered into, so it sort of shimmered into existence kind of where this
Your
was.
hackles
versus...
went up and you got out of the way before you really understood why.
Okay, so there was no sense of directionality from it. It just kind of
no, it
showed
just
up.
Decided it was going to be here, and then it was here. It's funny. Very nice. All right. So where are we going? We're going to go, and it is doing that kind of like full room scan. Very, very aggressive kind of scan that actually kind of a step beyond the sensor scan that we see in that scene that Dave referred to from The Incredibles. You got your passive scans, you've got your active scans, and then you've got your like obnoxious scans, and that's where this thing is at. Like it's almost like a static charge in your hair when a balloon comes nearby kind of level of scan of the whole area. And we'll jump back, and then the scan happens, and then the whole thing the thing kind of rotates, Alicia, kind of directly in your direction. And Leo and Adam. Yeah. Where were we? Were you guys like in the DC versus Marvel, like heroes clashing together, like about to ram into each other thing, or were we just like one step before that?
I think that's where we were.
You know,
would you agree or disagree?
I
Bill?
believe I remember Sablestar saying you came back and clasping our hands together in glee and then forming a sword out of the clasp hands.
That's pretty much what had happened. Yeah,
Jason,
the last action was
Jason had formed the spider bot.
Yeah, the spider nano mecha thing bob.
Omnidroid.
And
I was going to try and get rid of
oh yes, right. We were going to begin with you.
The facet wannabe.
Defaceting the situation. What did we say? We're like they've evolved from facet up to something
fractal.
Else. Fractal.
Fractal.
Right. That's a fine evolution. It's probably going to get as much screen time as anything else. Okay, so let's right. So yeah, this is like X-Men animated cartoon thing. We see Sablestar's sword come out, kind of sort of in the background. In the midground, we see the spider, the disc folding over into the bulb, and then the legs come down, and then we see Fractal kind of step directly, really like hard foreground framing, and winding up another big blast. And Adam, what do you do?
Exactly what I wanted that. So first, can I burn?
Yes.
All right.
I'm gonna say yes.
Can burn.
We'll see how badly this goes. Worst case scenario, I just pick up 3 conditions.
I
pick up 3 conditions.
Oh, so, that is a worst case scenario. My sweet monkey lord.
No,
okay.
That's all right. I know exactly what I was going to pick anyway. So
that's fine. I want to look and see.
I pick up 2 burn.
Take a check mark.
Yeah, take a potential. When you charge up your powers, roll conditions. You currently have marked on a hit, hold 3 burn. On a 7-9, mark a condition. On a miss, hold 2 burn, and mark 3 conditions. Spend your burn on flares. And apparently you
Yep.
only need 2, so.
Yep.
What you doing?
So as soon as he reels back,
Well, actually, tell me first, what's the conditions you're picking up?
so angry
All right.
at Sable Star more than anything at this point.
Okay.
Just because, and just that little bit of insecure. It's like, oh man, she's going right for the sword here. I better get rid of this guy.
Okay.
And then guilty because of what's about to happen.
Oh, jeez.
So,
Okay.
so I'm gonna do this a little bit weirdly. So, quick little flashback
Okay, that's fine. Go for it.
back to when we were at the base, and everybody's like getting ready for the for everything that needs to happen.
Freeze for
And-
just 1 second. Okay.
Yes.
Right there, we're at flashback. Leo. During the prep, you and I had talked about foreshadowing some stuff that you wanted to kind of have ready. So in this thing, as the camera sort of on you and then coming to Concord, what do we see you working on as you're sort of prepping up Phoenix and Otto and you and Numa are talking and stuff? What are you guys working on?
Leo's big plan has been centered around the Heart Factory, so he's working on that and extracting some stuff from that.
Okay, so we see that and we're panning past that or away from that or panning to follow Concord as he is what? We're back with you, Mike.
So, like I was saying, flashback to the
Mhm.
base.
Yeah, that's where
Yeah.
we're at, was in that flashback area still.
Okay.
So we
Oh,
flash
I
back.
get you.
We flash
Okay,
back.
I-
Everyone's doing prep. We start with the flashback of Leo and Numa and those guys kind of fiddling with some Heart Factory looking stuff. And Otto is kind of talking about, so where's that going to go? What are we? And we kind of we fade right really quickly past that to Concord. What?
Okay. So Concord goes over to Harry.
Okay.
And he's like, "Hey Harry, I got a question for you." Or he's like, "I got a weird question for you. What's the most remote area you and your parents ever got into like a superhero fight in?"
Are you on mute, Harry?
No, he just said,
No,
oh,
I'm
pondering.
yeah. Gee, well, my parents have fought all over the world, and you always find remote areas. I think the most remote they've been was King Cold set up a base in the middle of but nowhere, Russia.
And were you there?
No, before me.
So
No.
he's looking for
I'm not.
Oh,
We're not hearing Harry.
Oh,
I'm hearing Harry.
I hear Harry.
Hearing Harry. Okay, let me see what I can do.
the mic got started too soon.
one with
So
me?
yeah, one that I think I see where he's going with this, like someplace remote
I'm
that
wondering-
you remember.
Like I want this to drag up some memory of Harry's where he's just like, that place. And just like something that he just has like really bad memories of. That's just like
Yeah.
the middle of a desert or something, like
Ugh,
an underwater
Chechnya.
base, like something just like out of the way, away from everything, just something he's got a bad memory of.
Ah, okay. Yeah, me and my parents took me training in the middle of Algeria, right where the Sahara Desert is. It was hot, it was uncomfortable. There ended up being bad guys there that we stopped, but it was awful. You try wearing a tight suit and running around in the middle of a desert.
Sand everywhere.
So much chafing.
No amount of hypertech could make a good suit for that.
So, as I kind of went
gets
over,
everywhere into your clothes and it never comes out. Okay, Anakin, we get it.
so,
You guys ever seen that little line? It's like,
It
you're-
is.
Obi-Wan Kenobi never told you about your father. Yeah, he did. He told me he was a bitch who complained about sand all the time. And Vader just stares at him like, wait, what? Anyway, keep going.
So, as I kind of went over on the forums last time, like Adam's like teleport ability is based off of like emotional tethers that he has to places, and as like he's kind of dredging this memory up out of Harry, he kind of sees that tether and is like, oh yeah, and kind of like grabs onto it and like sort of is like, okay, yeah, I kind of get this.
It's not just that he teleports him to a place. He teleports him to a certain kind of emotional state of a place. So it's not just the desert. It's the current shittiest part of the desert.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's why Adam's teleports aren't really that precise either. It's either I go to a person or I go kinda to a place.
Yep. You know,
So
I like it. Okay, so he winds up with the big blast.
So he starts winding up with the big blast, like he's got, I imagine he's got like his hands over his head, like gathering power and all that. And that's when Adam just sort of like blips over to him, like, you know, in the panel you see him like grabbing a tether off of himself, off of his powers, and he's just like, "Hey man, I'm really sorry about this, but this is gonna be bad. But I think you can fly, so you'll be back in like 20 minutes to an hour."
What?
And he just like wraps it around his wrists.
And you know
and
it's
then like
you know it's not Facet at that point because it's a guy's voice who responds with kind of a what?
and it's like, "Oh man, I'm glad you're not Facet." And then just like pulls it across his hands. And as I'm sure that he kind of has like that sort of, he can't see what's pulling his hands together, but he just sort of like pulls them together. And Adam just like pulls it taut and is like, "Here, hold on to this for a second," and just lets go.
we could like slingshot him through like a. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So all of a sudden, just like he just kind of gets like pulled along the tether into like a portal, and then there's probably just that other panel of him just like coming out and hitting a big sand dune.
Now you don't have to roll for the teleport thing. That's just you using the burn, right?
No, I figure this is I figured this was a what is it? An Unleash Your Powers.
Oh, okay. You can. Oh, okay. So you're not using burn on this, or no?
No, I used 2 points of burn to take a 10+ on Unleash Your Powers.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's fine. Sorry, I just wasn't sure where the burn factor. of it.
I was coming about this in a roundabout method. I'm sorry.
That's totally fine. So the 10 on the Unleash Your Power is fine. The burn is the interesting part because it's very low roll. You take some conditions out, but there's going to be a little bit of follow and stuff from there. Leo, you're watching obviously the whole thing kind of unfold there, and he's winding up, and you're just sort of figuring out like, is he going to keep the shield? Interestingly, at this point, the shield that Concord kind of had up sort of drops. Concord standing over next to the guy, and you see him kind of glowing. I don't know if Leo has a nickname he would never, a sort of an anime reference nickname that he has for Concord powering up that he'd probably never admit to anybody, except probably all the Newmans know. Of course, he calls it that in his head, but he's doing that thing that you associate with him, like winding up for a big move. And you see as he's doing this, Sable Star's eyes, do they glow? Do they simply light up metaphorically with an avarice, kind of kind of expression of avarice? You don't know. Maybe you do. It doesn't really matter. But she is clearly looking like sort of across the battlefield, kind of while he's distracted and doing this thing with Fractal, and so, power leaping, flying, whatever, straight at him for like sort of like a side swipe, blindside kind of thing. Meanwhile, Jason is clearly like lining up on you, and is getting ready for some kind of nastiness coming your direction. What do you do? Put this. Concord's really not seeing Sablestar right now because he's kind of like trying to simplify the battlefield, but because of whatever the concentration this is taking, or how focused he is on this, or something, he's not catching the Sablestar out of the corner of his eye. What are you doing?
So she's pretty hyper focused on him, I assume.
She's definitely all eyes on Concord for sure.
Does that make her vulnerable?
I mean, certainly you could do something to her. It's you could blast her whether or not you've got enough juice in the tank to take her out cleanly. Anything you do, she's probably not going to see coming, whether it's enough to take her down or not. It really kind of depends. Whatever you're trying to accomplish depends sort of on what your goal is.
It just happens that I have a move called Overwhelm a Vulnerable Foe, and so that's why I'm asking.
Oh, is she vulnerable? That is a really... I'm not sure if she's... Let me look at that. Let me just look at the move real quick, because I wanna... I mean, it's high time you actually use the bloody thing that you bought.
The effect is that she's taken out, and I don't want to deprive Concord of that if Mike is interested.
Yeah. I think of vulnerable as being a lot more, I don't want to say helpless, but more so than she is right now. I mean, she's not really focused on you, but she would, the kind of, ow, insert cursing here, ouch, 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 that really hurt. Where my mask's book is. Oh, there it is. I think she needs to be a little bit more on the ropes than she is right now. She could catch something out of the corner of her eye and do something. So I think maybe not quite yet.
Then how about a revisit of our last fight? If Concord is opening a portal somewhere and sending this fractal character through that, we can knock her through the same portal.
Okay. Yes.
The whole reason I didn't do this to her is I know she'll come back.
Yeah. How long they'll actually stick is a whole different thing.
How long it takes her to come back leaves us with time to deal with Jason.
That's true.
That is a good point.
I'm going to shoehorn this in as, well, it's not really a shoehorn. I'm going to call this a defend because you're essentially defend, and because of the fact that she's not really out of the scenario out of the situation for very long, it doesn't have the, she's not permanently removed from the whole thing. You're basically just doing this to keep her from getting a free shot at Concord. And the color of the thing is highly entertaining. So I'm going to go with a defend, I think, which is a savior roll.
Superior when I have the Phoenix.
And superior when you have the Phoenix. So, yeah. So what's this? Well, roll first, and you can tell me what this, describe the action here as we go. And it's a 12. Of course it's 12. Okay. So what's this look like? Is it...
Kills all our karma.
Well...
Yeah.
It's coming off Concord at least this time, so that's fair.
If this works is that I'm going to stick with the team splitting up earlier to dodge this giant blast. Leo and Arya are going to recombine. They are together are going to fly in front of her to give her something to look at to cross her field of vision as a distraction, and also to help Otto plus Phoenix land at the shot. So behind her is this gigantic robot that's coming at streaking full speed. And she's going to realize this. Leo and Arya fly out of the way. She turns around and is like, oh, that's what that was for. And this thing slams into her. It's not going to break any bones, but it's just
It's like a
momentum still
wing,
works.
like a wing smack, like smacks it with a wing, kind of a tennis serve, kind of.
Pretty
thing.
much, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah. So, yeah, I love it. So yeah, she pulls up and she's like, kind of gets this sort of feral grin when the two of you sort of appear in front of her, and she's kind of like, and as you guys start to move, and she starts to like, this weird little frown of like, well, what are you doing? That doesn't turns just in time to sort of get a face full of wing and gets knocked backwards into the sort of slingshot portal. Honestly, before Fractal's even all the way through it, she kind of slams into the body and they both go through. And
I think if Leo or if Link and Arya stop like right next to Concord afterwards, I think Concord's just gonna turn to him and be like, "Man, I thought she was better than this last time."
She is. We're just even better than that.
Okay. He didn't. No, never mind. Didn't take it. All right. Meanwhile,
Oh, and I have no conditions. Don't need influence on adding a team to the pool
okay,
for the successful defend.
that sounds good. Thank you. I will do that. We have a lot of team in the pool. Hooray! So 1, 2 here. Put it over to me. And deal. All right. Okay. So while you guys are having this little quick conversation, Concord, you notice that the ground is sort of getting black, kind of where you are, in a very wide patch, like spreading like spilled oil. What do you do? You're pretty sure neither one of you is doing it.
Yeah. I think that's definitely take to the air and sort of like see what is doing this.
Okay. You start to see as you start to leave, like sort of lift off the ground, that there's like tendrils kind of rising up, in reaction to that movement. And go ahead.
Is this like Jeez, Big Hero 6 and Yokai's like little nanobots coming out to snake at people?
Sure, but they're small. It's kind of smaller than that almost at this point. But yeah, not as obvious. It isn't like the stuff, like it's that stuff all over the ground. It's like the ground itself, like the structures that were on the ground, plants, whatever,
are turning into that.
Yeah, or like shifting status. That sort of thing. And it's reacting to you. Leo can't fly in his current combo.
Actually, yeah, Arya and Otto both have levitation these days.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. So I guess it's more like, what do? You could probably lift up there. It's going to come after him, and Leo's pretty fast, so he's probably fine.
Just a nice little wave of energy towards it to sort of like knock it away.
Just to protect yourself, blast this thing back,
yeah,
keep it out of Leo's line of sight, or what?
Kind of just sort of like any of the above. I mean, it's like reacting to my movement right now, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's just sort of like blast it to keep it off of me.
Okay. That'll work. All right. Whoops. So let's have, how about you unleash your powers? I think.
Okay.
For that, we're going to change the environment that he's attempting to change a different direction here, and just get rid of this stuff as a factor.
Kapow.
Oh my gosh! Look at that. Very nice. Okay, so that. Crap. Where'd I go? Reshape your environment. Definitely reshape your environment. Okay, so yeah, really good thing. So this is definitely like sort of the Jason nanobots, but taken up to some next step level where it's actually sort of co-opting local matter for more of itself. And you just kind of, you kind of raise the area, kind of salt the earth sort of a thing. And as you're doing so really is when you sort of realize what it is that you're, it's not just, it's an attack. It's, oh, it's this, specifically this thing. So since we got a nice high roll here, what, why don't you... I'll give you a choice here. You can assess the situation and ask a question, or you can sort of alter the environment a little bit further in the realm of interfacing with these nanobots kind of thing. Like, get them to like largely retract, or some other weird thing, some particularly Concord kind of thing, or sort of use that, what must be some kind of level of connection to sort of get a read on the situation.
Ooh. So I like that second one, if I'm kind of like jiving with what you're saying here.
Yeah, you'd be picking up sort of surface stuff from Jason, basically, or something along those lines, potentially, or at least picking up commands and that sort of
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go with that. And
So
I
what-
figure that's just kind of as like a what this kind of looks like, because I figure, as these little tendrils like snake out to go for Concord, he probably like raises up his shield and then just like gives it a wave. The shield sort of like blows outward and
Right.
knocks a lot of it away, and then like he just sort of like grabs into the air with what seems like nothing. And then there's that little insert panel where it like, 1,000-time magnification, and he's got like one of the little nanobots in between two fingers.
And you're picking up little tiny krill thoughts, little, just tiny little fish thoughts in these things, just the very, sort of echoes of various things. What's the question you're looking to answer?
Am I asking off of?
Yeah, something off of or at least in the joke. You can sort of like look for whatever, or what your thought is here, but I think the questions for assess the situation are a really good indicator of like ultimately what are you trying to get out of the questions that you're asking. Like, what's the goal of the question? What do you when you go looking, what are you looking for ultimately?
So I'm going to ask what here is the biggest threat, but I'm asking it in a roundabout fashion to say, is this him like actively doing this, or is this AF Jason like having peppered the city with his nanobots, and now he's calling them to activate? Or is it something else entirely?
He is. Given where you guys are, I mean, yeah, some of it might be latent stuff that he's sort of like seeded around over the course of whatever, but you think he's actually sort of actively doing this. What was the question you were looking at?
What here is the biggest?
What is the biggest threat? This is a distraction. He's got this thing going with you while he's doing something with his other hand, kind of deal. He's got you fiddling with this, and is actually going after the bot and the Phoenix and Otto.
Okay, that was what I was worried about. So Adam's just gonna go look up at Leo or Link and Arya in their combined state and just sort of be like, this is a distraction. I got these things, and then points up to Phoenix and Bot or Phoenix and Otto.
Yeah, Phoenix and Bot. Yeah. So, Leo, and what do you do? What do you specifically sort of immediately do? I guess I should say.
Well, we got 2 out of 3 of the combatants out of the way, so it's time to lure Jason in.
Okay.
I'm going to try to taunt him with, from what I understand from how Dave has been playing Jason, like for the first 20 sessions, maybe the most effective taunt that I can think of.
Okay. All right.
So Jason, you're working for Rosa Rook. I guess you'll never get away from being voiced by a girl.
Oh.
Man, that was low.
Oh.
Damn it, Leo.
That was really low.
My daughter just stumbled into the room just so she can do a death scene in the middle of the office.
I felt that in my concordance.
Okay, so he was actually. There's some stuff going on here that we're not necessarily straight up focusing on, where he's like sort of sneaking up on some sort of ambush on Phoenix and Otto, but I feel like this is clearly a provoke to draw his attention firmly on you. So why don't we go with that provoke, and then we will jump over to Charlotte and Harry and see where we're at. Oh my God. Seriously, you guys. Oh wait. Oh, that was a
If that outcome wasn't a 12, I'd be disappointed, honestly.
Well, yeah. Well, you never know. He might have grown past it. In this case, clearly not. All right.
Come on, Jason, man up.
The massing tentacle that was, slowly forming out of a building behind Otto and Phoenix, much like the rest of Jason's construct, freezes momentarily. And we're going to cut over to Charlotte and Harry. All right, and JC. So over at there, let's take this little thing out of the way for a moment. Okay, so we had, if I remember right, let's just shrink this thing down. There we go. Charlotte, you had gotten a really, and Harry, you're kind of up on current events also too, just because you were kind of in the link, so to speak, on the events that kind of led up to this, a lot of closing of the wounds and slowly amassing spirits from everywhere, and getting to the point where just the sheer preponderance of all these different voices and stuff sort of overwhelmed the core Charlotte before, and maybe had overwhelmed her for some time, but because the purpose was so singular, it hadn't gotten to a truly debilitating level until fairly recently, even though maybe her real mind had been gone for a little while, uh, because it was just like this one thing. I'm doing this one thing. She'd been able to kind of hold on to it, and now not. And Charlotte, you when we stepped out of this sort of insight, you had been left with, I can't remember what the specific wording is, but sort of some sort of key to connecting with or accessing this entity or this thing or something. Let me look exactly.
And what I'm actually focusing on is trying to kind of gather a bit of the core Charlotte
Okay.
in this, and so what I managed to bring the focus that I have for that is a hair comb, and let me show you the image of it.
Please do. Sorry.
This way.
Where are you? Where should I be looking? Or are you
I'm
still
sorry.
grabbing?
The Discord
Oh,
site.
there we go. There we go. Okay, very cool.
This is the hairpin, and it's it's important to us because that's actually a cameo of our mother.
Okay.
There's probably a bit of Vertovian symbolism in there too.
Unbeknownst to you up until relatively recently.
So that is sort of the foci, if you will.
Sure. No, I like that. I like that.
I'm using for this.
So this is something, and I think one of the interesting things about it, do you like pull it out of your own hair? Is that sort of?
So, no, the way I see it is it's more it's more connection to the cyclone, and so it's sort of like reaching in and forming it out of the cyclone.
Oh, interesting. The reason I ask is because it would have been interesting if you've had it as sort of a mental something that goes along with your own mental image of yourself, because you can sort of appear. I mean, you're a ghost. You can sort of appear how you picture yourself, but you're currently physical, and it'd be neat to like be able to pull that out of your hair and actually have it be a physical thing. But it's fine.
Based on the way it was written, I felt like it was something that had to come from there. But
either way, whatever you find more compelling, I am fine with either one. What do you think?
I think it's more of a pulling it out from there because it's
Sure.
phrased to sort of receive. So I think it maybe in some ways it's combines the two, mine and it. So as I'm kind of pulling, maybe I pull the one out of my hair and pull it in, and so that it becomes one hair comb between the two of us.
That's neat. I like that. Kind of bring the two bits.
Building, because I'm trying to build that bond and in or deepen that bond that we created last time.
Okay, very cool. I like it. I think I'm going to kind of treat this like, because it says you kind of go with a move from another playbook, through this, and I'm kind of looking at maybe symbol of authority from the legacy, but I think that might be sort of what we're looking at. Which is good. Anyway.
Because my ultimate goal here is to, you know, return the direction to this in terms of, you know, closing the wounds.
Right.
But if I can bring back some of this Charlotte, that's a bonus.
Okay. So yeah, as a bare minimum, you're trying to at least get the thing moving where you can make use of the thing, and if you can actually get some semblance of yourself back, even better. But you're sort of like hedging your. How optimistic are you about that second thing? Or are you kind of thinking she just might be too far gone? Kind of thing.
Well, I'm thinking it's like this. I think, yeah. So the purpose always was to close the wounds of the earth, right?
Right.
And so I think that's actually pretty easy, relatively speaking. It's just kind of, you know, reminding them of that purpose, or, you know, pointing them in the right direction as to where the last of the wounds are, or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's been their purpose for a long time, so I don't think that's as challenging. I think on the other, you know, Charlotte is a very hopeful person, so I have to say that hers is going to be more of along the lines of, you know,
the primary goal at this point boils down to getting the thing moving, and if it happens to have this other knock-on effect, great. And if not, worry about it later, kind of deal.
So the Charlotte side of things would be, you know, along the lines of reminding her of her purpose, you know, help me direct these, you know, help me bring about the end to these wounds, you know, sort of that pleading directly towards her.
Right.
To run, you know, but in part of it is just reminding the whole what its purpose is.
Okay. I'm going to have you roll, because I'm using, the move that I'm using is based off of Savior, symbol of authority from the thing when you sort of give an NPC an order based on an authority they recognize. Roll Savior. So that is your move for this thing. Are you still kind of doing this from the ground? Oh my God, you guys with your dice. If we get nothing but full hits for an entire session, I'm just gonna have to like say the game's over because everyone's off.
I rolled a 4.
I know you rolled a 4.
He did. So.
And I've got at least some rolls coming up. So,
so we know the perfect streak's not going to continue.
Where have we passed the bad dice to this week?
Yeah. Harry hasn't rolled yet, so who knows what's going to happen there.
No, Harry's been rolling great.
Yeah. All right. So the way this thing is written, on a hit they choose 1. On a 10, you also take +1 forward against them. On a miss, they do as they please, and you take -1 forward against them. So you take +1 forward against sort of interacting with this thing. And I can choose, do what you say, get out of your way, attack you at a disadvantage, or freeze. I don't like freeze. Get out of your way doesn't really make a heck of a lot of sense at this point. I'm not sure. I think what it boils down to is whether how much Charlotte is left in there.
Help if I kind of assumed the scary giant Charlotte form that was summoning the ghosts against Vertovia.
Possibly, but at the yeah, I mean, yes.
Put me at a disadvantage with my friends here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably. The thing is, right now, this particular initial move here is based off of the symbol. So the giant scary Charlotte is possibly definitely a move,
This,
a move in your pocket,
got
but
it.
it's not this move, because this move is the piece. And the question really boils down to, is it Charlotte responding to that, or is it the wailing mass of angry ghosts reacting to the idea of their toy being taken away? Kind of, not exactly. Mother, granted comatose mother, but mother being fiddled with. And I think initially it might be that first.
Instinctual reaction.
I think it might be that initial angry reaction. It's this initial thing. Now, that doesn't necessarily not get what you want. Get you what you want. It depends on how what everybody else wants to. So Harry.
I know what my response is if they do try something. So.
Okay. So Harry, you're touching solid Charlotte, and JC's over on the other side, and she's holding up this hair comb thingy. Looks old. Up at this thing, and it's swirling, and the swirling actually seems to stop. Everything for a second, like it just stops. And you get, just before it starts to happen, that moment before a lightning strike kind of feel in the air, and you're like, this is, whatever's up there is not happy about this. Something bad is about to happen. What do you do?
I get ready to carry JC away from there.
Just JC, not Charlotte. Just get JC out of it.
Charlotte, even though she's solid right now, is a ghost, and she's the one who has the comb and everything, and I know she can take care of herself, but we kind of dragged JC into this, and also she's important to closing the rift, possibly, and
I mean, you
she
could.
isn't a ghost that can handle a pandemonium of ghosts.
There is this thought. Charlotte's not a ghost right now either. I mean, I'm just wondering if you don't grab them both. But that's, if your focus is JC, then your focus is JC.
I trust that Charlotte knows what she is doing.
I have this image of
I think this is another manifestation of Harry thinking that Charlotte is damn scary.
Yeah. No, it's totally fine. I just have this hilarious image of Harry running like mad with the two other people like slung over his shoulder in fireman's carriage while they're beating him around the head and neck. Put me down, whatever. That's still gonna happen. Okay, why don't you roll me then a defend, Harry? And how far away are you trying to get with her?
Hopefully out of the blast radius.
Whatever? Okay. Give me a defend then, and let us see where we are on that. Shrink that out of the way.
Hey, I was expecting a 4.
Hey, you didn't get a 4. You got a 7. All right, so checking that out. So the way that shakes out is, all right, you expose yourself to danger or the situation escalates. You pick.
I expose myself to danger. I'm
Please,
figuring.
there are ladies present.
I'm figuring it's don't get quite out of the blast radius, or I'm bridle carrying JC. So
okay,
whatever it is.
So Charlotte, you're saying you had a plan for what this looks like what you do if it looks like they're about to like smite. What is that for you? Because there's a rush of air and suddenly JC and Harry aren't at your.
That's good, because that was the first thing I was going to say is Harry, get JC out of here.
And it's already happened. and the wrath is coming down on you. What do you do?
Sure, I'm ghostly. I'm not still solid, right? Or am I?
You appear to be worrisomely corporeal. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
So
We'll do
it
with the wheel.
wasn't wholly them touching you, apparently. Or if so, there's a lag effect.
I'll have to linger, right? Okay. So, assert my authority as their captain.
Okay. All right.
The phrase correctly.
You're not their captain. You're their corporeal.
Oh God, dude.
Please.
Oh my God. I just heard my daughter from the other room go, "No, no."
Damn it, Jason!
You're
James, you sure you don't want to stay here and protect me?
Are you saying that I should make those jokes in private?
You're
Not for general consumption.
Oh.
We're sort of getting into the kernel of things now.
What kind of, from the tick,
Who are you?
what kind of corn soldiers are you? We're colonels.
Colonels.
Oh God. Kaylee came in, and I have to hand it to her. This is a pretty good attempt for a 12-year-old. She comes in and she goes, "Really, these comments are so broad. They're really just very general." And
I think they're kind of rank, but
oh.
We're not aiming for the stars here,
Oh,
people.
wow. Wow.
You have to live with.
is this going to be a major issue?
Yeah, I was going to say this is a major faux pas. Oh, God.
Mom is taking it in a very minor way.
There's corporal punishment waiting for all of you.
Terrible. All right. So okay.
Left
So
this.
your barring. Okay. All right. I am going to go with, I think, realizing this really plays to your strengths, but you're trying to like rise up and sort of assert your authority as a general.
Yes.
Not the captain, the general.
A certain portion of these. Thank you.
Um,
A certain portion of these, the content of this ghost storm. Oh no, but that's the wrong. Well, no, because they don't recognize the different dimensions.
yeah. And there's
So some of these people know me.
In theory, yeah. I mean, certainly should. I think, and this will be an interesting little take on this. I think this is a provoke. I believe that you are asserting your authority on these things and making them do a thing.
I'm basically, asserting, vengeful spirits, you are mine to command.
Right.
Kind of.
So I don't know whether this may not actually play to your strengths, but it's I'm fine with that because honestly, this is such a scale of that you're dealing with here. So this says provoke. Yeah, you're going to be a bit of a penalty for this. But Harry's coming back, so it's possible he might be able to assist. I'm not 100% sure what that might look like, but it is it's a straight up superior roll, which at this point in time, because of the guilty, is going to be at a penalty. But that's okay because sometimes you don't get the good rolls. But you're rising up and saying, stop kind of deal. Which is going to be a little...
Okay.
So this is you just roll the dice next to superior. It's going to be at a penalty, so there's a potential for it to be low here. We'll see where it actually shows up, how it actually comes in.
Showing up, but let's see if it shows up.
Okay. Yikes. Okay. That's all right. Mark potential.
It will carry over to your next character.
And I had a +1 from.
You did have a +1. That gets you to a 5. Harry can't get you out of the hole with that. You could theoretically push it up to a 7 if Harry and JC help. So let me put. So you had. I want to back this up just a little bit. James had defended, and he put himself in danger,
Pretty.
in jeopardy somewhat for this. You were trying to sort of rise up, but you're not doing it. You're still just a regular girl standing on the ground looking up at this storm that's
Corporal,
about to
not a
strike
general.
and going, "Don't you dare strike me, lightning," kind of thing. So you're in the distance, and JC has like been just yelling a blue streak this whole time, Harry, and she finally just like she gets through a little bit. She's like, "Stop! Look!" And you look, and there's Charlotte, and she's not big, she's not scary, she's not Ghost Girl, she's just Charlotte. And JC's like, "We've got to help her." So you tear back that, or well, I knew you were already headed back that way. JC's like, "We have to go back to help her." Do you take her back? Because really, it's it's not exactly a retcon, but it's kind of a little bit of a change of certainly your plan, seeing what's going on there. What do you do?
I think I take her with me.
Okay. All right. So something is about to smite Charlotte. JC's kind of like, as you're dropping out of blur speed, she's kind of rolling and striking kind of a defensive stance in front of Charlotte with the sword out and everything, glowing. And Harry, how do you help sort of block this, or what do you throw up against this, or just sort of what do you do? There's great power about coming down on you right now. How do you help at least somewhat mitigate it? It's not going to be pretty no matter what you do, because you're just sort of doing this off of the cuff, and also you've never had to deal with a typhoon of ghosts before. This is new.
Learn something new every day. I
mean, there's sort of an energy signature-y kind of swirling tip of the it's like when you see the tornado about to touch down, just and you're at that point where it's about to.
Yeah.
I mean, you could try like the energy burst thing or the speed burst thing that Uncle
running
Chase
around
did.
in a circle in the opposite direction, trying to
yeah, I was
counter
thinking doing
countermanding funnel.
I think I can try to slow them down some and thus mitigate the initial damage of all of them suddenly hitting by doing the classic
and it's not
tornado.
I mean, the trick is it's not really, and that's why it's not working perfectly well, is it's not really a tornado. It's this wall of space. Yeah, I like that picture. It's pretty good. It's a good picture from Bill. Okay, so what we're doing is pushing that. You had a +1, so that puts you up to the 5. You don't continue to have that +1. That was like sort of a one-off. And that gets you up to the 5. It gets you from there. You get the help from Harry and JC, just in terms of establishing it. We're doing this as a provoke. So on the 7, it gets you up to a 7 and 9. They can still choose when they stumble. You take a +1 for it against them. They err. You get a critical opportunity. They overreact. You gain influence over them, which
kind of is what I'm trying to do anyway.
yeah, I mean, honestly, that works to your, because once you start getting that, then you like things like the provoke and stuff like that take a +1. You need one. You guys need to do one of those like mid combat comfort and supports. Okay. So, but between the fact that is pushed up just to a 7, and Harry had already made himself vulnerable, as a choice previous. Oh, yikes. Let me look at this thing here. I think.
My next 2 possible moves are both freak based.
Yeah.
Should have done first. Oh,
That's all right. I mean, I was the one that called it a provoke. I was gonna go with alter. You could have gone with unleash your powers to change the environment, but that's not really what this is. You're trying to order it. It's fine. Nobody ever chooses the right thing the first time, every time, especially in a teen comic. Harry Mercury. I am going to. Hit you with hopeless, because this is you're expecting, you're trying to deal with, it's like, oh, I'm dealing with the tornado tyrant and I'm going to counteract him, but no, you're getting hit, you're getting run through multiple times by this swirling maelstrom of people who died and all of their angry memories about that, and this world that is kind of a crap world to begin with, and everything like that, and you're getting little flashes of that as they're pouring through you in this swirling matrix, and I'm
guessing it doesn't feel good.
No. So hopeless for you, and because this didn't work, Charlotte, I'm going to give you insecure.
Okay.
So we're loading up those conditions, kids. So I'm going to give you insecure, as this thing is like swirling around you. There is something, Harry, you end up like almost kind of retreating close to Charlotte, because JC, of a lot of you, seems to be able to kind of at least keep them somewhat off of you. Little bit of a sphere, hemisphere of energy kind of around you guys right there that you can kind of retreat down into as you're now sort of inside of, combination of some sort of weird, ghostly hellscape thing and a scene out of Twister. Okay. And we're gonna cut to. Never gonna get done. This is gonna be the longest one session tangent we ever went on. We'll go down in the history books. The starfish thing says, the voice comes out of it, Alicia Chin, you are in the incorrect dimension and the incorrect timeline. Correct these errors or you will be disciplined.
Ooh, hit me, baby, hit me.
Do I recognize the voice, or is it just this mechanical?
No, it's not I mean, semi-mechanical, but that's not necessarily means you don't recognize the voice. I don't know. That's a hell of a thing. I think you should assess the situation. You do a lot of assessing. That's okay. But honestly, I mean, I think that's really
It's
the.
my bag, baby. What's the situation? So superior. I mean, of course,
It's superior roll. Don't worry, I'll get you to a bad roll soon enough. I'm sure.
That just combines down near us.
A hit, a palpable hit. Well, I mean, you're trying to roll a penalized stat on the provoke. Now wait, what? Oh, sorry, I back up here. You took with your provoke shell. I just need to track this in the back of my head. Did you take the gain influence over them as your thing? On a 7 to 9, you can choose. They stumble and you take a +1 forward against them. They make an error and you get a critical opportunity, or they overreact and you get influence over them. And I can think of, I mean, the first and the last option are quite straightforward. The critical opportunity is a pretty good one also, that I can certainly see my way through to. So I think
thematically the influence over is sort of kind of what I was trying to do. So it's sort of, I think
you could, having established a connection there, the critical opportunity I'm thinking about is that having brought itself so close to you, you might be able to much more easily contact yourself.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. And that might be, there's your critical opportunity. There's a real chance there for you to do something. So with regards to contacting yourself, you think on that, figure out what you want from that, and we're going to jump back over to Alicia. So, Alicia, you are in the wrong dimension and the wrong timeline. Correct this, or you will be disciplined. What do you do? You're still behind
trying to figure out if I recognize the voice. Remember?
Yes, you should roll.
I did.
You did? Oh, look at that, you did. It slipped. I was wandering around the room. Ask a question. Or I can just go with it. It boils down to biggest threat, probably.
Oh, good.
Whatever
your question is, it boils down to what's the biggest threat.
You thought the hellscape typhoon of ghosts from the world round was the biggest threat? No. It's a little silver starfish just floating around scanning stuff. Yeah, no. Yes, you recognize the voice. You have heard it on a number of news things. It's never really been central to any of your research, but it has always been it's cropped up enough in various contexts that and it's in news and old newsreels and analyses and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's definitely.
Yes, I'm getting robotic voice too.
Are you getting robotic voice? Okay. Let me know if I'm getting better. If not, I'll have to do something. I'm not saying anything just yet. How are you guys doing? Have I lost you?
You're still
You guys are breaking up for me too. Mike and Bill, are you guys getting me?
You sound very mechanical.
Everybody's breaking up. Okay,
Everybody sounds
cold, and you guys are as well.
Hang on just a sec.
Oh, it got better.
Yeah, it did get better.
Haha.
Good?
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
Well, yeah.
So,
what was the last thing you heard clearly, I guess?
I have heard this voice before, broadcast. I've never had opportunity to research.
Yeah, you were never really paying that much attention to it. It was always kind of ancillary to your other research and that sort of thing. So it was never that really big a deal.
Which?
Directly. It was never like a oh
It was not someone who I ever had a need to
No,
pay a lot of attention to.
but
It was
it's
just
kind of hard to
information.
miss, and you're very good with knowing that kind of stuff and recognizing that kind of stuff. So if you will give me just a second here, apparently the image that I thought I had I do not have. So one moment while I scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. Really? Of course it has to be all the way at the end of the file. Wow, all the way to the end. It's impressive. Long silence. There we go. Lovely. And yes, you are pretty sure that you recognize that voice. And of course, that doesn't necessarily mean anything when I can't still find the bloody image. Where the hell did it go? Oh my stars and garden.
I don't know, but the suspense is killing me.
Is it? I swear oh, I'm in the bloody hell. Hang on, sorry. I'm in the wrong. This is the problem with having like similar file structures and folder structures and stuff mirrored in two different places on my drive, because it looks like I'm right where I want to be and I'm not, because I'm in the other one.
Pulling this out of the Archdemon file.
Yeah, here we go. Bloop. Image should be loading. Why isn't it loading? There we go. Image loading, please wait. There we go.
Oh, okay. Well, that answers the question I was going to, the smart
Which is
question
what?
I was going to ask. How can you tell?
Oh.
It's the Vlad Taltosh question.
How can you? Never mind. So, yeah, lots of footage of her. Well, them, not it. I think, yeah, I'm gonna say her. Presents female, although that's probably kind of meaningless in this context because it is an android, or some as near as anybody with the technology can process it. An android. And when I was saying before about how the tech melding the two was sort of silvery and turquoisey and stuff, it
kind of
like that starfish thingy. Certainly in that same vein. Yeah. So definitely that voice, definitely this thing. You're about to ask, how do you know? Rather pertly, but instead you what? Or say what?
I stand up from
Okay.
behind the rubble that I was ducking behind.
Yeah, you're somewhat comforted by the fact that it does adjust itself to your suddenly revealed location minutely. It did not know exactly where you were, although it was pretty well facing you. But it wasn't perfect. Small comfort?
Small comfort.
Indeed.
I am here to fix the problem with this tear between the worlds.
But that will not be permitted. The tear will remain. The tear will expand. That is its purpose.
Oh, you are so on the wrong side of this.
Hey,
I have to ask, who are you talking to, Margie? Like who
Damn it, Jason.
I'm just filling in for Alicia's mental stream of thought.
That's what I'm asking. Are you saying to Alicia you're on the wrong side of this, or are you saying it to Dr. Infinity?
Infinity.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, okay, let's tack away from that direction.
This is the final remaining rift. I think rift is probably what you refer to it as. That and is expanding appropriately to cause a dimensional collapse, and thus it must be allowed to do so. The result will be somewhat more catastrophic for having been centralized, but it will achieve its intended effect.
So he is the one that caused it.
And what is your intended effect?
No. You will return to your original time and you will have this information several decades too early. And that would possibly interfere and definitely annoy me. So, no. No.
Well,
if you hold still, I will painlessly return you to your correct timeline and dimension.
But if you do that, I won't be able to take care of the others and get them home.
What others?
Oh, they're moving into position right now.
So the
Did you disarm all of the traps, or
yeah, she pretty much safed the place up pretty well.
I was going to ask if there were any in the vicinity of the starfish here.
Oh yeah,
like
there's
maybe that building that was rigged to like collapse.
Yeah, the wall collapsing thing is actually on the wall near where that thing is at. The downside being you're in that building, so potential problem there.
Yeah, but so if I know it's coming, I've got a chance to get out of there.
I'm gonna have you roll a provoke, because what you're potentially doing here is making this thing distracted, because it's going to
because the longer I keep distracting it, the longer I'm not. Yeah. Okay. Hey, look, superior.
It is superior.
It is superior.
Scary term peddling supervillain that we really don't know much about is saying that the rifts are supposed to grow and it will cause dimensional collapse. No, you're probably not the only one. I think that's probably.
I'm certainly concerned, and I'm standing right here.
Okay, Bill.
Dr. Infinity is a purple to us.
Bill.
Damn it, Bill, and you're bringing up time collapse.
Oh my God.
Or time compression.
Radiance Barista. I gotta look up all these. Oh my God, no, that would be fantastic, but no. Oh, 4 really? Oh my stars and garden.
Well, someone took all the good rolls on the dice tonight.
How are you only adding a 1?
Where bad luck happens. What are you complaining
How
about?
are you only rolling a +1 on a superior roll? How is that a thing? Are you penalized?
That's an interesting question.
Do you have a...
I thought I rolled superior. It says I rolled superior. I've got a 3 on my superior.
Where's provoke sit?
Provoke chooses guilt. Provoke takes guilty.
Oh yeah, you're guilty.
Counter. Am
I
guilty?
Yeah, you're guilty. All right. So terrible roll combined with only a +1. All right, that's fine. Take potential.
Oh boy, potential.
You mean potential right before Dr. Infinity wipes you off the map and throws you back to level 1?
I've got 40 years to use that potential to stand up to him.
If you send it, her, probably her. Let's say it presents as her. So you say, I've got if you send me back, I can't get the others back, and it does sort of another sort of intensive scan thingy. And says, only one of the 2 individuals outside of the city needs to be returned to their correct timeline. And
Shit.
Harry Gale has the capacity of returning on his own. The other one is Nate. Wait, is that right? No, JC's from the other dimension, isn't he?
JC's from the alt future, but
Mercury,
yes,
the individual known as Mercury, colloquially, has to return to a time and dimension. The wielder of the Excalibur shard simply has to be returned back to the other side of the dimensional barrier. A simple thing that we will effect as soon as we have taken care of you. And that was a provoke. I think I'm going to give you Afraid.
I can't imagine why.
And we're definitely not distracted, so we don't have an opening here. And it is going to, what looks like is sort of a, now I will give you this for free. It said 2.
I'm sorry,
It didn't say anything about Charlotte.
Oh, it didn't.
Or counter.
Charlotte.
Or counter.
Yeah. Only 2 have to be returned. Well, that's because I was thinking originally it was like, so Charlotte is allowed to stay here, but
Charlotte's not from here.
Well, I know, but
so either something's weird with the storm futzing up perception of Charlotte, or something else. But for whatever reason, super scary starfish thingy bob, no seeum Charlotte. So that's a data point. Give you that one for free. Meanwhile, it is sort of doing, it looks like it's doing it turns back around to you, and it sort of does this scan thing, and it's coming out of the arms, and the arms are all kind of like, the laser shows where all of the lasers kind of come into a point where towards the viewer, like the big, kind of a deal. And it's coming in like towards you in that fashion, a little bit slower, but you can actually see through the lines of the lasers or the scanning or whatever, your perception of the space beyond those lasers is already hazier. So you can only imagine what's going to happen there as it's getting closer. What do you do?
I'm going to appear to be carefully taking aim with my guns towards the starfish in the hope that it will, pause, throw a shield between itself and me, laugh mockingly and say, "Ha! You think that those puny guns can hurt me?" Which is the point where I'm going to shoot behind it at the rigged building.
The rigged whatchamajigger? Because you disabled. You disabled the trigger, but
I disabled the trigger, but all the mechanism is still there, so I should be able to actually do it, and then shoot while diving or backpedaling as fast as I can, whatever is the appropriate direction, using my judgment of space and movement to get the hell out of the area of effect.
Okay. All right. For the record, if this goes awry and I end up sending you back to the present space and dimension as the building collapses around you, and lacking any other options, you have to run to Summer for help, I will stand on my head and have my daughter take a picture to commemorate the happiness that this brings me. But it requires you rolling like really badly on this is an interesting question. What is this? I think it's directly engaged. I think it's danger.
I think it is a danger.
I'm sorry about that because I just gave you Afraid. So it's really kind of just straight up roll. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's a hit. It's
not a great hit.
It's not a great hit, but it is a hit.
But it's a hit.
It's a 6 and a 1. The 6 looks really good. The one the one not so much. Okay, so you are directly engaging, and when you directly engage a threat, roll damage. Okay, trade blows. Pick one. Resist or avoid their blows. That would be you taking no damage from really what you're about to do, though. That's not so much.
Okay.
Take something from them, create an opportunity for your allies, impress, surprise, or frighten. You pick one. Now, if you really want to just get out scot-free from this collapsing building, that's pretty cool. And that would be the resist and avoid the blows thing. If you end up taking, that's a lot of, you'd have a lot of conditions after that. But you know, take something from them, create an opportunity. You take something from them, you could literally take the starfish away from Dr. Infinity.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking of that, or taking the starfish's ability to figure, to know where I am, so damaging its sensors or something.
Well, you drop a whole building on it, you could probably take this one away. I mean, that's probably fair.
Okay, well, I'm still kind of trying to engage Dr. Infinity here. I'm thinking, like, if this was a Galactus probe, it would be sort of like,
ultimately,
it just needs to leverage its way out from underneath the rubble.
Ultimately, you're trying to blind Dr. Infinity. I mean,
yes.
Whatever that looks like, whether or not it's a
so
temporary
I'm trying to blind Dr. Infinity, however that looks, even if that means I get
Okay. So you
injured.
shoot the building dissolver thing.
Mm-hmm.
It does exactly what you thought it would do. Damn it, Jason. And so it's one shot and then run. And you actually feel the lasers still kind of close. You can actually see them out of the corner of your eye, like coming in on you, and you're like, and then the collapse.
Maybe I'll be partially insubstantial when the building collapses.
There's a moment where you're like, the lasers kind of shake and like cut off as the thing, and there's a moment of like, yes, and you realize that's because the building is really coming down super fast, which is like, no. So yeah, you have a kind of a demolition man running away from the collapsing building kind of thing, choking brick dust and that kind of thing. It is an exchange of blows though, so pick a condition. Hopeless?
No, it's sort of the opposite of hopeless. If I got out of this, it's the opposite of hopeless. I'm going to take insecure, because knowing that Dr. Infinity is lurking around,
is now involved in this nonsense,
and is probably not going to be thrilled by what I've just done.
No.
I'm punching way out of my weight class here, as is everyone else.
Things you want to try to avoid: getting noticed by Dr. Infinity. Not the top of the list, but it's really on everybody's list.
It's not on the top of the list because most people consider it highly improbable. But faced with the prospect, I think most people would say, yes, we do not want to draw Dr. Certainly that's what Dad would say.
Yeah. I really don't want, it's like, of all the things I don't want to have happen, getting noticed by Dr. Infinity, and the immediate response to that is like, why would that even be on the list at all? Just don't have it on the list. Why even risk it? No, anyway. All right, so you're running out of the collapsing building, and this thing is falling on the starfish. Whether or not whether that killed it or simply hampered it, who can say?
Who can say?
Who can say? 20 solid sessions I've been waiting to use that damn starfish image. Solid sessions. 20 solid.
I'm so happy I gave you the opportunity, Doyce.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And you're welcome. Charlotte has what did you pick, Charlotte? An influence? Weird opportunity, like critical opportunity? What are you going for?
Opportunity.
Critical opportunity? Okay. Critical opportunity. And we're looping back around.
Sorry, if I'm correct in the way influence works, then it's sort of like,
it would give you when you have influence, you sort of always get a +1 on rolls to do social. Is it everything towards that person?
Yeah.
It's sort of So really any roll that you're making against this thing would be at a +1. Honestly, can I just say something for the record? Why would you ever take the +1 forward if you can take influence over them?
If you already have it.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, you could shift the, well, you can't shift labels on an NPC, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I guess, because you, yeah, if you already have influence and then you take the +1 forward, that gives you a +2 on them for one move, which is pretty sweet. But I mean, yeah, initially, if you're expecting a number of rolls against them, Charlotte, probably the +1, the influence is probably the strong bet, because that gives you a big advantage going forward against them numerically. Alternately, you could change the game entirely and give yourself the opportunity to contact yourself straight up. Whatever that means.
So what's the critical advantage?
The critical advantage right now, like, you couldn't get to yourself because of all this madness around, and this lets you basically touch your own mind straight up, like your other self, with no interference. So you got something you could do there. Might be a good time to do one of your crazy, like, possession things, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the two choices I felt I had were, unleash my powers in some way, but the other was possession and focus it again on the hair comb.
And do an impossible thing, whatever that happens to be.
Really not swap bodies around.
I mean, what you need for what you want to accomplish is lots of spirits. There are lots of spirits here. You could take the heart out of this thing, this uncontrollable thing, by simply pulling Charlotte back out of it. The spirits are still here, but they're not.
So my original plan was to try and get them moving and repurposed.
Yeah, sure.
And so
you could leave them as the thing as it is and just try to get it to move, which in that case I'd say go with influence. If you want to make them you don't have the big mass of them, but they're not
out until we get things under control.
Yeah, they're not gonna rubber band snap back to wherever it is they came from. They're gonna be here in this area, and that it just makes it a little bit.
Well, and then we can probably make use of JC's sword a little bit more on the focus side.
Exactly.
We might not need quite the risk.
Right. So you think on that, because you're gonna, I think, given the time, you're probably gonna have some time to ponder what you think is probably the best move. Back over to.
Can I pause and say, Harry, you really exemplify all that is marvelous and wonderful about, the world today, and I just think you're a great kid. Not hearing me because Harry's down here out of microphone range.
We might have to start. Yeah. So middle of the moment.
Yeah. Mid.
Both of you sort of like crouching next to JC's knees. I just want to say how much I appreciate what you're doing for me. Thanks. Yeah, really. Anyway. All right. So back to the righteous burn on Jason. What did we decide that was? Was it provoke?
Yeah, I got a 12 on that.
Okay. So what are you provoking him to do? Because he's going to do
Come
it.
at me, bro.
Come at me, bro. I don't know why I even ask. Of course that's what Leo wants him to do. Yeah, sure. He's going to. Now let me just check that provoke thing here. See if is he going to be functioning at some kind of weird penalty or anything like that?
It says he just does what you want.
He does what you want. He wants you to come in. They rise to the bait and do what you want. All right. So, Jason, the whole thing, there's a big pause there, and rather than going after Phoenix, Otto, doing any of that, he kind of pauses, and it's not, I don't even necessarily know if he knows that he's saying it, but just barely audible as this thing kind of crouches and leaps at you. you hear, it didn't go far enough the last time. As he's kind of not the whole thing, but the arms are, he's stepping forward a little bit and reaching out, and the nanobots are clearly reaching out, and the focus is like going for the head kind of thing. Meanwhile, Otto and Phoenix are kind of leaping in from behind. I have no idea where you've got stuff stored or anything of that nature. What do you do?
I don't know. Do you have much more that you want Jason to do? Because if not, I'm going to unload on him right now.
By all means. Let's. I mean, what are you gonna? Yeah. What happens?
So this is the moment that Leo's been waiting for. This is what he's trying to get Jason to do. If I understand correctly, Jason is trying to get into his.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
He's going after your head again.
So Leo asked Concord for some assistance earlier. We're going to now talk about what that assistance entails.
Sure.
So Concord can bubble stuff and put it into this kind of extra dimensional space, but he can take it out again. What I arranged for him was to sort of take one of these artificial synthetic brains that make up the Heart Factory. We loaded that with a couple of mind states, and we are now releasing that around the armor instead of penetrating the armor again to Leo's physical squishy brain. Jason's nanobots are basically running into this brain structure that is Jason.
Explain in what way it's Jason to catch everybody up specifically.
Sure. So back around issue 28-29, we had Jason and Alicia on the slab, getting their respective minds repaired with Leo's Heart Factory. The way that works is that we would read an imprint of their minds via Jason's nanobot technology with an adapter that we wrote, and the machine did a repair job on these brain states and then fed that back through the nanobots, thus effectively healing them. But that means that there's still effectively a backup copy of who they were as people at that moment in this machine.
Yep.
So when Jason's nanobots arrive, what they encounter is a mind which is Jason's. That's their host. It's their home. And it's not a target. It's not something to destroy or damage. It's something to take orders from. And it's something to assimilate with. And the way that Jason's nanobots were described is that one of the things that they did was take overflow from his normal physical brain and reintegrate that back in when he was able to process stuff again. So what I'm essentially doing is making this Jason remember 17-year-old Jason.
And a complete 17-year-old Jason that he's never had, because that never happened here. He was never fixed here. How are you, mechanically speaking, doing this to him?
This is Leo's last moment of truth.
Yes. Okay. Is everybody up to speed?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I ran this past Dave already. He was on board with this, so this is fine.
Yep.
And right along with that,
I didn't know who was up to speed on this whole thing.
I had a very good idea as of last weekish whenever Bill posted that thing, and I was like, "Oh, I can see where this is going."
Oh, that's right. You did some foreshadowing of this, kind of fiddling with the machine and stuff like that, kind of on the forums, didn't you, too? So I probably didn't need to do the little bit of thing when we were flashing back through Concord's bit. Whatever. It's all good.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah,
all
you're
right.
fine.
So, the moment of truth for the bull is basically you just blast through the barriers that are up, just are like as to wet tissue paper, correct?
Pretty much. So the text actually says, you let loose all the pent-up strength and rage and glee, and you break whatever stands in your way. You are a walking demolition crew. Who can stand up to you? Nothing.
Nice.
So there's a physical and an emotional component to this.
Sure.
The physical is that there's this huge mass of nanomachines Leo having disrupted Jason for a moment is basically going to take himself and Arya and Otto and Phoenix and smash through this mass that Jason has built up around himself and just literally tear it apart and get to Jason. What I would like that to look like basically is him just literally fighting, literally and metaphorically, to get through to Jason.
Right. So you're like tearing through, and this is there's an element here, and I feel like I've said this before. There's an element here of like, because of the effect, as they're trying, because he doesn't realize initially what's happening, as he's trying to get into the armor and work his way into the cracks, and he's doing it with you. He's trying to do it with Otto's behind, and the Phoenix. He's making the nanobites sort of vulnerable by coming, trying to establish this contact, because you've got this imprint in there, and the shock of it is making them non-responsive. So you're kind of tearing off almost like muscle strips off of this thing, as you're tearing through the tentacles and working your way up to the ball, the Omni ball, whatever. And of course he's, this is having blowback effects. The machine itself is kind of reeling, because he's connected to the nanobots, and this effect is being carried back, at least initially, is causing a lot of shock to his system. So yeah, you're just blasting through it, and then what we're seeing, you get that little camera like zoom through, kind of a matrix, kind of zoom through the electronic, almost follow the electronic signal back to Jason's brain, as he's in there and his teeth are gritted, but he's also connected to this thing, and his eyes are wide and the pupils are dilating and then narrowing the pinpricks and almost fluctuating like visibly as he's processing this thing. And would he just like tear that final ball open?
I think so. I think he's got enough light and control that it's going to be a struggle. The thing that I thought the final thing that I thought would be amazing is that there's this like nanotech Jason that rises from the swarm, because Jason it has been really good at beating himself up. And I think it's that Jason that's really going to take him down, with Leo just kind of tearing through this armor, making a path for him.
Yeah, that's great, because the nanobots, I love it, because the nanobots that you're tearing off actually reform into kind of like a Jason and then join the fray. Nobody actually overtly says this is because Jason's so good at beating himself up, but it's the first thing that shows up in the letters column for this issue. I just think it's so appropriate. God, that's good. All right, so yeah, he's actually so you see Jason inside of this thing, and you see him focusing on defending himself from Otto and Phoenix together, and Arya and Link, sort of in another direction. He's keeping them back, and then like a hole is kind of torn open. An actual like opening in the shell cycles open, because it's Jason, kind of, or at least close enough, and he didn't see that coming. And it's actually like you see this younger Jason, hints of the color that should be the hair color, that kind of thing, the face, the skin tone, that kind of thing, just hints of flickering, reaching in here and grabbing him and dragging him bodily back out of this thing, and back out onto the ground, and then the body pouring back onto him and wrapping him up and struggling with the nanites that are still on him and all this other kind of stuff, and then kind of Leo and Arya kind of coming up on and reintegrating that imprint directly onto into those things. There's a lot of chaos and craziness and that kind of thing, but seeing nanites pulling back and seeing his staring face is like all of these memories, and nothing that you guys would know, but actually years and years and years more memory editing that was happening here continuing to happen because that never got fixed. That never got stopped here. And all of that kind of slamming back into place. So, okay.
And if he seems conscious, I do have one thing I want to say to him to hopefully bring him out.
Give him a line. He's probably going to pass out, but give him what you say before he passes out for at least a little bit, because this is a bit of a shock to the system.
I'm sorry that I left you alone back then. I'm not going to do that again.
He actually kind of opens up his mouth like he's going to say something, and nothing comes out, and he kind of collapses. Okay. So that happened. Oh my God, that's good. All right. We have Jason down, but possibly fixed-ish. Certainly something. Sable Star MIA.
Yep. I was hoping she was coming back, but
We'll see. We'll see. If nothing, I guarantee you will fight Sable Star again.
well, I had like one good thing in mind here, and then you took her out of the fight right away.
It's Bill's fault. It's
I only delayed that. Okay.
I thought she was gonna come back. We'll see. We'll see how that
Well, I was
goes.
about to say, this is totally in character for her to just sort of like come out of like nowhere and fucking go for a slash on Adam while he's not paying attention. He's like
Yes, absolutely.
off in the distance, like looking like
She appears out
that
of
actually.
she appears out of another little portal hole and like yeah.
Because I was about to say, I can, if she did, I already knew how I was finishing that little bit of pathos out.
We'll see how that shakes out.
Wow.
It's an interesting thing because in this timeline, like she was defeated, and then she apparently snuck back in pretty quickly, sort of, and allied herself with Rook like real silently on the down low. And for the life of you, you can't imagine why that couldn't have happened in your own timeline too. Interesting. Very troubling thought. Charlotte is crouching with Harry and JC amongst the spirit maelstrom. Alicia has just dropped a building on part of Dr. Infinity, thus earning herself a minor but terribly worrisome place on Dr. Infinity's shit list.
His to-do list.
The to-do list, yeah.
Or to
And
undo list.
yeah, to undo list. I like that. It's good. I like it. And I think that's where we're going to stop. With many questions to answer.
I'm you, Jason. No, sorry.
Damn it, Jason. Damn it, Jasons. All right. So yeah, we have much going on there. Alicia, just out of curiosity, as you're tearing out of the building and the building collapses and you're trying, what do you do? Like,
I'm sorry.
what do you do? Like, do you immediately scramble and like beat hell away from this before it like Terminators its way back up out of the building, or what do you do?
Well, yeah, I mean that's the natural. Okay, that's the natural thing to do. At least break line of sight. Do we have comms here?
Yes.
Sure. Yes.
Okay, we've got earbuds and
Yeah.
we don't have a satellite system, but I guess they act on
Well,
their own.
I mean, they're radio comms for all intents and purposes.
Sure.
Yeah,
I guess we're close enough.
more to
for
the
it.
point, they're TV radio comms, which means they work all the time, no matter what, even if it doesn't make any sense, unless it's an appropriate time for the writers to be lazy and say they don't work.
Right.
One of my favorite things in oh, go ahead. I'll
Okay.
So
Yeah. So step one is break line of sight of the collapsed building.
and scream bloody warnings.
So,
to everybody.
yeah. Second thing is, hey guys, Dr. Infinity's here.
And seems somewhat upset with us.
Damn it, Jason!
Stop that.
I love that part. Top that. All right. All right. Alicia, closer to the team, further away from the team, more into your own image of yourself.
Image of self. Plus
Alright.
danger minus mundane.
All right. That seems fair. Leo.
Closer to Concord because I got to beat up on his villain, and we got this double team move, which was exactly the same outcome as last time.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. You ported her away. Which at some point in time you need to stop doing that and actually resolve her thing, but that's fine. She'll be back.
I like to think we're just irritating her at this point.
I was ready to end it, but no.
No. You had to mess with things. James. Sorry. Harry. Sorry. Mercury.
Closer to Charlotte.
Closer to Charlotte. Gotta save Charlotte. Gotta help Charlotte. Charlotte. Keeping in mind that if you grow closer to somebody, you can clear condition. Actually, that's pretty worth James remembering too.
Yeah, I know.
Or take potential.
If only someone was here for me to grow closer to. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
Yeah, I apologize for that because when you have a new person added to the team, really it behooves me to kind of have you be around the team so you can help integrate, and it's been not that. That's poor staging on my part. What
It
say
wasn't
you?
my fault everybody decided to come along with me except for you.
No.
Here, think of it this way. Harry thought that Charlotte needed defending more than you.
Sure. Charlotte, what say you? Closer, further away, image of yourself.
Closer to the team.
Closer to, and that would be to Harry, I'm assuming, since he's the one that's sort of there. What am I missing?
Unless I could grow closer to JC.
You can give influence to JC, yeah. I mean, that's a thing you can do.
Really? Can I rescind my closer to the team?
She's already giving, you already have influence over her. You could give influence to JC. I mean, there's downsides to that potentially because she can make you feel guilty and it does something, you know, but, you can pay it.
Here I thought that we were bonding. No, I guess not.
Again, I believe you already have influence over Charlotte, so you can't have more influence.
No, I'm
If you-
peeved that she's going for JC and not me.
Well, yeah, but again, you already, I mean, it's not, all it is, you know, more influence.
He's kvetching for fictional reasons, not mechanical.
I get that. I get that. If you want to give influence to JC, by all means, give influence to JC. That's cool. You don't have to,
No, unlike Charlotte, I don't turn
No,
my back on
I
my
was talking.
friends.
I was talking to Charlotte, not you. You're all good here. Charlotte, do you want to give influence to JC?
I was gonna say JC because I keep on messing up and giving Harry conditions when I try to move his labels around since he already has influence.
Well, that is going to happen. That's potentially going to happen anyway because he gave influence.
It's
to
the
you.
other way. Never
Yeah,
mind.
but yeah, he could potentially mess you up too. And honestly, you don't have a lot of conditions to take at this point. That's fine because even if it isn't this, it's something that it's recorded like on JC's fictional sheet, but it's JC still has influence over you. That's not going to go away just because you go back home. You've now gotten in the habit
She's
of
just not
listening.
gonna understand it.
Well, yeah, she's not going to understand, but you won't have gotten out of the habit of listening to what she has to say. So that's.
Yeah, I think that would be actually kind of a fun story thing.
I think so too. So yeah, let's go with that.
So it's not that I don't love you, Harry. I do.
So
Sure.
you can clear condition mark potential.
Sepia chips.
Harry, you can clear a condition mark potential. Concord, what say you?
We're gonna grow closer to the team for Link, obviously, since we did the football play. And unfortunately, there's not an option for growing further away from the GM.
What? It's not my fault. The player specifically said, "I want to knock Sablestar through the same portal."
At least you had good rolls.
It's not my fault. No, he didn't. He rolled a 4. You rolled a 4. You lose.
He rolled a 14.
You lose track of Sable Star for a little bit. You rolled a 4. Girl
And a
further away from the
14.
GM. Jeez Louise. All right.
Mike, the thing is that Leo's now got a very big problem, which is to get Jason out of here unseen by an entire city worth of surveillance. And Sable Star's coming back real fast. You're
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
have.
Oh yeah.
okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And then
oh
she,
yeah, no.
and then she can just go on akumatizing Jason. So, and then undo all of your good work. Not undo it, but certainly Pharrell with all your good work. Okay. So.
George, what condition did you give me? The insecure.
I
or
gave you
hopeless.
everything except for the one that messes with freak, because I'm a kind and considerate GM.
Bill, I would like to know what minus Sable Star means.
Ghost Girl, I believe you had afraid, angry, guilty, and I gave you insecure right there at the end. And I gave Harry hopeless.
Right, but it's not clicked, so.
Oh, I forgot to click it. So
So-
now it is clicked, and then you can unclick.
Okay, and now
If you-
I'll unclick it. So we don't do that again.
We don't. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Good plan. Yes, that was what I meant to do. And Harry, I don't know if I gave you hopeless. I don't know if I actually checked it. I don't think I did.
I did.
You did. Well done, you. I see you only have one condition, so I'm assuming you cleared
That's because I
something.
cleared one. Yeah.
Well done. All right. Good job. All right. I think